Hello, my lovelies. It is time for another book outlet haul, so stay tuned. So I did it again. I have 3 boxes of books from Book Outlet to show you. So I'm just going to dive right in. They also have these really interesting new boxes. So it says pull here. Let's see how it opens. Oh, okay. This is opening very strangely. Okay. I don't remember ordering that. What? Hold on. Okay. So there's a book in here that I didn't order, and I just looked at my order and I'm not sure what happened. They switched books. So one of them is supposed to be the second book in the March Sisters series. I think Meg and Beth, I think was what it was. But instead they sent me this tiny little level 1 ready to read PJ Masks Time to Be a Hero. So yeah, I'm gonna have to contact them because I didn't order this. So but the other 4 books in here were books that were part of that order. This box and I think this box here were a part of the same order. So let's hope everything else came right. But yeah, I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going to set it here for now because that is not part of my thing. And let me move these down to the floor so I can set the books up here. Okay, so the first book in this box is Hollywood Park by Michelle Jolette, and looks like this. This is nonfiction. It says, "We were never young. We were just too afraid of ourselves. No one told us who we were or what we were or where our parents went. They would arrive like ghosts, visiting us for a morning and afternoon. Then they'd disappear again for weeks, for months, for years, leaving us alone with our memories and dreams, our questions and confusion." So begins Michelle Jolette's unforgettable memoir of resilience and reinvention. Born into Synanon, one of the country's most infamous and dangerous cults, where children were separated from their parents at 6 months old, Jolette lived in the cult's orphanage for nearly 4 years until escaping early one morning with his mother and older brother. Their escape should have heralded the beginning of a more secure life. Instead, Jolette found himself struggling to find stability in a world that was frighteningly chaotic and brutal. With a mother caught in the throes of severe chronic depression and a faraway father, Michelle and his brother struggled to navigate a world of neglect, poverty, addiction, and abuse, where delinquency was all too appealing and loneliness was near inescapable. His memoir is told at first through the fantastical perspective of a confused little boy, and then broadens and sharpens as he begins to understand the world around him. Its power derives from Jolette's uncanny ability to tap into a child's vulnerability, an adolescent's fury, and a young man's ferocious need to find connection and love. When their father, an ex-con and recovering heroin addict, permanently re-enters his life, he brings with him a fierce light that sparked Jolette's own transformation. Though the family often had to dress in shabby secondhand clothing, rely on government assistance, and subsist by raising wild game, Jolette was determined to live a better life. With grit and unwavering support from the unlikeliest of places, Michelle eventually moves on to cloudless days in Hollywood Park, spent watching the horse races with the dad he adores, opening an acceptance letter from Stanford University, and eventually finding his voice as a musician inspired by his idol, Robert Smith, who asks him, "Why be normal?" Funny, heartbreaking, brave, and beautiful, this stunning portrayal of a fractured family's ability to rebuild itself through tenacious love and loyalty has the hallmarks of a classic and signals the arrival of one of our most promising and uniquely gifted writers. Okay, next is Blade of Secrets by Trisha Levenseller. And this one, let's see. Ooh, that looks cool. This one says, I want you to treat my sword as though it is the weapon you've been practicing for your entire life. It is to be of immense power, something that can defeat many opponents at a time, something that could bring nations to their knees. 18-year-old Ziva prefers metal to people. She spends her days tucked away in her forge, safe from society and the anxiety it causes her, using her magical gift to craft unique weapons imbued with power. Then Ziva receives a commission from a powerful warlord, and the result is a sword capable of stealing its victim's secrets. A sword that can cut far deeper than the length of its blade. A sword with the strength to topple kingdoms. When Ziva learns of the warlord's intentions to use the weapon to enslave all the world under her rule, she takes her sister and flees. Joined by a distractingly handsome mercenary and a young scholar with extensive knowledge of the world's known magics, Ziva and her sister set out on a quest to keep this sword safe until they can find a worthy wielder or a way to destroy it entirely. Next I have Did I Say You Could Go by Melanie Gideon. And this has a really interesting texture, like you can feel the water droplets on it. This says, promise we'll be best friends forever. Ruth Thorne has long been the topic of conversation among her fellow Hillside Academy mothers. She's too pretty, too rich, too divorced, and her daughter, Marley, is a misfit to boot. So when Gemma Howard and her daughter Bea, a scholarship recipient, arrive at the school's meet and greet, Ruth sees an opportunity for friendship and a fresh start, and she seizes the moment. Soon the four are inseparable, but Gemma can't help feeling Ruth's lavish gifts and constant attention are creating an increasingly unpayable debt. 7 years later, Gemma has successfully and carefully distanced herself from Ruth, but now finds herself embroiled in a scandal. So when Ruth comes to her rescue, Gemma's gratitude trumps her concerns about her former friend. But soon enough, Ruth's attention grows oppressive again, and Gemma's decision to let Ruth back into their lives has devastating consequences. A relentless page-turner filled with hair-raising twists, Did I Say You Could Go is a deliciously wicked read. Okay, and then the last book in here is a book that I heard about from both Cody and Gavin, and it's not really the type of book I would normally gravitate to, but because of them I was interested. That is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. And let's see. This says, Quinn Maybrook just wants to make it to graduation. She might not make it to morning. When Quinn and her father moved to a tiny town with a weird clown for a mascot, they're looking for a fresh start. But ever since the town's only factory shut down, Kettle Springs has been cracked in half. Most of the town believes that the kids are to blame. After all, the juniors and seniors at Kettle Springs High are the ones who threw the party where Arthur Hill's daughter died. They're the ones who set the abandoned factory on fire and who spend all their time posting pranks on YouTube. They have no respect and no idea what it means to work hard. For the kids, it's the other way around. And now Kettle Springs is caught in a constant battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it will destroy the town, until one homicidal clown with a pork pie hat and a red nose decides to end it for good. Because if your opponents all die, you win the debate by default. Okay, so that is everything in that box. Let's hope the next box only includes things that I ordered and includes everything that I ordered. Okay. I'm really not sure how I feel about these boxes. They open so weird. And that's how they're packed in here. Their packaging used to be significantly better too, because right now, like, there's a book bent here. Normally there's like paper filling it. Okay. All right, first thing in here is Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I have the entire Twilight series, and I'll admit it, I enjoyed Twilight. I don't know if I would enjoy it as much now as I did back when I first read it, but I very much did enjoy Twilight. And I'm curious. I want to know. And what I've heard about this is that it's the story but told in under Edward's perspective. This says, I could see how easily it would be to fall into loving Bella. It would be exactly like falling, effortless. Not letting myself love her was the opposite of falling. It was pulling myself up a cliff face, hand over hand. The task is grueling as if I had no more than mortal strength. When Edward Cullen and Bella Swan met in Twilight, an iconic love story was born. But until now, fans have only heard Bella's side of the story. At last, readers can experience Edward's version in the long-awaited companion novel, Midnight Sun. This unforgettable tale, as told through Edward's eyes, takes on a new and decidedly dark twist. Meeting Bella is both the most unnerving and intriguing event he has experienced in all his years as a vampire. As we learn more fascinating details about Edward's past and the complexity of his inner thoughts, we understand why this is the defining struggle of his life. How can he justify following his heart if it means leading Bella into danger? In Midnight Sun, Stephanie Meyer transports us back to a world that has captivated millions of readers and brings us an epic novel about the profound pleasures and devastating consequences of immortal love. Okay, then we've got Run, Hide, Fight Back by April Henry. This is the one that got a little messed up because of how it was packaged. So I think it'll fix back eventually. But yeah, that's what it's like right now. This says, oh, this is what it looks like. This says, 6 teens must band together to survive after tragedy strikes in this high-stakes thriller by a New York Times bestselling author. When a deadly shooting breaks out in a Portland shopping mall, a group of teens end up trapped behind a store's security shutter. To her surprise, 17-year-old Miranda finds the others looking to her as their leader. But she's hiding a big secret, and she's not the only one. The group has just 3 choices: run, hide, or fight back. The wrong decision will have fatal consequences. In her masterful style, April Henry crafts an unrelenting thriller with inspiring teen heroes. And I've read one other April Henry and really enjoyed it. It was a super quick, not like super twisty, complicated thriller, but it was like a good bite-sized thriller, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, I think they're great for like readathons too, because they are so quickly consumable. So I was excited to get more by her. Let's see. Then I have Paris is Always a Good Idea by Jen McKinley. This says, a 30-year-old woman retraces her gap year through Ireland, France, and Italy to find love and herself in this hilarious and heartfelt novel. Yeah, this one also got a little messed up here from the packaging. It's been 7 years since Chelsea Martin embarked on her year-long post-college European adventure. Since then, she lost her mother to cancer and watched her sister marry twice, while Chelsea's thrown herself into her work. She's become one of the most talented fundraisers for the American Cancer Coalition, and with the exception of one annoyingly competent coworker, Jason Knightley, her status as most successful moneymaker is unquestioned. When her introverted mathematician father announces he's getting remarried, Chelsea is forced to acknowledge that her life stopped after her mother died, and the last time she can remember being happy, in love, or enjoying her life was on her year abroad. Inspired to retrace her steps to find Colin in Ireland, Jean-Claude in France, and Marcelliano in Italy, Chelsea hopes that one of these 3 men who stole her heart so many years ago can help her find it again. From the start of her journey, nothing goes as planned. But as Chelsea reconnects with her old self, she also finds love in the very last place she expected. And this sounds so cute. And I love like a travel-y kind of book too, so I'm really excited for this. Okay, so here is book 1 of the March Sisters. This is Meg and Joe. Book 2, the one that was supposed to be in the other box, is Beth and Amy. And instead I got that. But here is Meg and Joe, and it looks super cute. This is like a modern retelling of Little Women. This says, the March Sisters, reliable Meg, independent Joe, stylish Amy, and shy Beth have grown up to pursue their separate dreams. When Joe followed her ambitions to New York City, She never thought her career in journalism would come crashing down, leaving her struggling to stay afloat in a gig economy as a prep cook and secret food blogger. Meg appears to have the life she always planned: the handsome husband, the adorable toddlers, the house in a charming subdivision, but sometimes getting everything you've ever wanted isn't all it's cracked up to be. When their mother's illness forces the sisters home to North Carolina for the holidays, they'll rediscover what really matters. One thing's for sure, they'll need the strength of family and the power of sisterhood to remake their lives and reimagine their dreams. And then we've got 7 Days of Us by Francesca Hornack. This says, it's Christmas, and for the first time in years, the entire Birch family will be under one roof. Even Emma and Andrew's elder daughter, who is usually off saving the world, will be joining them at Wayfield Hall. But Olivia, a doctor, is only coming home because she has to. She's just returned from treating an epidemic abroad and has been told she must stay in quarantine for a week. And so too should her family. For the next 7 days, the Birches are locked down, cut off from the rest of humanity, and forced into each other's orbits. Younger, unabashedly frivolous daughter Phoebe is fixated on her upcoming wedding, while Olivia deals with the culture shock of first world problems. As Andrew sequesters himself in his study, writing scathing restaurant reviews and remembering his glory days as a war correspondent, Emma hides a secret that will turn the whole family upside down. In close proximity, not much can stay hidden for long, and as revelations and long-held tensions come to light, nothing is more shocking than the unexpected guest who's about to arrive. Okay, next up is Ensnared by A.G. Howard. This is the third book in the Splintered series, and I have the first 2 books. I just didn't want to grab it off my shelf, so I have pulled it up on Goodreads. This says, Alyssa Gardner hears the whispers of bugs and flowers, precisely the affliction that landed her mother in a mental hospital years before. This family curse stretches back to her ancestor, Alice Little, the real-life inspiration for Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alyssa might be crazy, but she manages to keep it together, for now. When her mother's mental health takes a turn for the worse, Alyssa learns that what she thought was fiction is based in terrifying reality. The real Wonderland is a place far darker and more twisted than Lewis Carroll ever let on. There, Alyssa must pass a series of tests, including draining an ocean of Alice's tears, waking the slumbering tea party, and subduing a vicious Bandersnatch to fix Alice's mistakes and save her family. She must also decide whom to trust, Jeb, her gorgeous best friend and secret crush, or the sexy but suspicious Morpheus, her guide through Wonderland, who may have dark motives of his own. And I love a retelling, so I'm excited to have... I'm not sure, is this the last book in the series or not? Yes. So now I have the complete series. Okay, next up. This is a book that I actually got for Xander. I thought it would be helpful. He's 15 and it's definitely time to start, acting like the man he wants to be. So the book that I got for him is A Surprisingly Necessary Guide to Being a Good Guy. Just Don't Be an Asshole by Kara Kinley Cartwright. This says, this is the tough love that boys need to hear today. A candid and whip-smart guide to being a good guy in a world full of assholes. In this frank, funny, and necessary guidebook, Kara Kinney Cartwright, a mom who has raised 2 teenage boys, compiles all the unwritten rules of being a good guy. As it turns out, everyone needs to learn one major lesson to safely avoid asshole territory. Other people are also humans. Whoa, right? Just Don't Be an Asshole additionally contains everything young men need to know to have positive interactions, make the best decisions, and recognize when they're being jerks. Things like, to your family, parents are not your employees. To your friends, they'll laugh at you, not with you. At work, no one wants to hear your podcast idea. To women, are you up? Doesn't qualify as romance. Online, if you wouldn't do it in real life, don't do it. In the real world, people unlike you are also people. To yourself, It's okay not to have all the answers. And I definitely want him to read this. Okay, next up I have Fierce Fairy Tales, Poems and Stories to Stir Your Soul by Nikita Gill. And this is relatively short. It's only, oh wait, that's the acknowledgements. Okay, it looks like it's only 155 pages. And I mean, it is poems and stuff, so there's a lot of pages that are like this. So this will be a good quick read as well. Oh, let's see. This says, traditional fairy tales are rife with cliches and gender stereotypes. Beautiful, silent princesses, ugly, jealous, and bitter villainesses, girls who need rescuing, and men who take all the glory. But in this rousing new prose and poetry collection, Nikita Gill gives Once Upon a Time a much-needed modern makeover. Through her gorgeous reimagining of fairy tale classics and spellbinding original tales, she dismantles the old-fashioned tropes that have been ingrained in our minds. In this book, gone are the docile women and male saviors. Instead, lines blur between heroes and villains. You will meet fearless princesses, a new kind of wolf lurking in the concrete jungle, and an independent Gretel who can bring down monsters on her own. Complete with beautifully hand-drawn illustrations by Gill herself, Fierce Fairy Tales is an empowering collection of poems and stories for a new generation. And I just think that sounds fabulous. Okay, I had to look at something. Because before I said that I had the first 2 books in the Splintered series, and I was wrong. I have book 1, and then I also have the collection of novellas, which encompasses like book 1.5 and 3.5. So I didn't have book 2, but I have book 2 in here. So this is Unhinged. So yes, I have the second book as well. And also by A.G. Howard, I got Stain. And this is thicker than I thought it was going to be. This says, after Lyra, a princess incapable of speech or sound, is cast out of her kingdom of daylight by her wicked aunt, a witch saves her life, steals her memories, and raises her in an enchanted forest, disguised as a boy known only as Stain. Meanwhile, in Lyra's rival kingdom, the Prince of Thorns and Night is dying, and the only way for him to break his curse is to wed the Princess of Daylight, for she is his true equal. As Lyra finds her way back to her identity, an imposter princess prepares to steal her betrothed prince and her crown. To win back her kingdom, save the prince, and make peace with the land of the night, Lyra must be loud enough to be heard without a voice and strong enough to pass a series of tests, ultimately proving she's everything a traditional princess is not. And I also think that sounds amazing. That is a hefty book. Okay, next is Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. And this one also got a little bent up. This says, it's New Year's Eve 1982, and at the stroke of midnight, Una Lockhart will turn 19. As the countdown begins, Una faints and awakens 32 years in the future in her 51-year-old body. Greeted by a friendly stranger in a beautiful house she's told is her own, Una learns that with each passing year, she will leap to another age at random. Who will she be next year? Philanthropist? Club kid? World traveler? Wife to a man she's never met? Surprising, magical, and heart-wrenching, Una Out of Order is an unforgettable story about the burdens of time, the endurance of love, and the power of family. Next up is The Secret Bridesmaid by Katie Birchall. This says, matrimony meets mayhem. Sophie Breeze is a brilliant bridesmaid. So brilliant, in fact, that she's made it her full-time job. As a professional bridesmaid, Sophie is hired by London brides to be their right-hand woman, posing as a friend but working behind the scenes to help plan the perfect wedding and ensure their big day goes off without a hitch. When she's hired by Lady Victoria Swan, a former model and it girl of 1970s London, now the Marchioness of Mead, for the society wedding of the year, Sophie is given the chance to prove just how talented she is. Of course, it's not ideal that the bride, Lady Victoria's daughter, Cordelia, is an absolute diva and determined to make Sophie's life a nightmare. It's also a bit inconvenient that Sophie finds herself drawn to Cordelia's posh older brother, who is absolutely off limits. But when a rival society wedding is announced for the very same day, things start to get, well, complicated. Can Sophie keep the perfect day from turning into a perfect disaster? Heartwarming and hilarious, The Secret Bridesmaid celebrates the joys and foibles of weddings, the nuances of female friendship, and the redeeming power of love in its many unexpected forms. Very cute. Next up, I have The Mirror Season by Anna Marie Michelmore. And this says, Grace Cristal's whole world changes after she and a boy she barely knows are assaulted at the same party. She loses her gift for making enchanted pan dulce. Neighborhood trees vanish overnight while mirrored glass appears, bringing reckless magic with it. And Celia is haunted by what happened to her and what happened to the boy whose name she never learned. But when the boy Locke shows up at Celia's school, she has no memory of that night and no clue that a single piece of mirrored glass is tearing his life apart. Celia decides to help him, which means hiding the truth about that night, because Celia knows who assaulted her and him, and she knows that their survival depends on no one finding out what really happened. All right. And then the last thing in this box, and I do have to go back and check and make sure that I got everything, because after that I'm a little concerned, but the last book in this box is the Everything Travel Guide to Ireland, from Dublin to Galway and Cork to Donegal, and a complete guide to the Emerald Isle. Includes a variety of itineraries from 5 days to 3 weeks, which is awesome. And I really just want to travel everywhere and see everything, and Ireland is definitely one of those places that I want to go. I actually thought about going very, very recently, but I don't want to go when it's cold. So I think it's going to have to wait for another time, and I'll go when it's warmer there, because I don't want to go when it's the coldest month of the year. But this does have, says the Everything Travel Guide to Ireland features all the latest information you need to get the most out of your trip to Ireland, including transportation, lodging, customs, and emergency advice, the scoop on cultural attractions in all major cities and in the country, the best dining and shopping experiences for any budget, where to find traditional pubs and cutting-edge clubs, how to take a genealogical tour in Ireland. If you want to know everything about traveling in the country of cottages and castles, limericks and literature, cozy pubs, and exciting nightlife, then this is the easy and insightful guide you've been searching for. And I personally really like travel guide kind of things, because even if I don't get to go to a place, I can learn a lot about a place this way. Okay, so before I go on to the next box, I'm going to hop over on my computer really quick just to double check and make sure I got everything, and I'll be right back. Okay, I am happy to say that everything came in that box, so yay. Now we can move on to this last box. All right, the first thing in this box is Tokyo Ever After by Amiko Jin. And let's see. This says, Izumi Tanaka has never really fit in. It's not easy being Japanese American in her small, mostly white Northern California town. Raised by a single mother, Izumi, or Izzy, because it's easier this way, has always felt it's been her and her mom against the world. But then Izumi discovers a clue to her previously unknown father's identity, and he's none other than the Crown Prince of Japan, which means outspoken, irreverent Izzy is literally a princess. In a whirlwind, Izumi travels to Japan to meet her father she's never known and discover the country she always dreamed of. But being a princess isn't all ball gowns and tiaras. There are conniving cousins, a hungry press, a scowling but handsome bodyguard who just might be her soulmate, and thousands of years of tradition and customs to learn practically overnight. Izumi soon finds herself caught between worlds and between versions of herself, Back home, she was never American enough. And in Japan, she must prove she's Japanese enough. Will Izumi crumble under the weight of the crown, or will she live out her fairy tale happily ever after? And this gives me the Princess Diaries. Yeah, gives me those vibes totally. Okay, next up is Majesty, which is American Royals, book 2 by Catherine McGee. And I have book 1, but I'm going to pull it up on Goodreads instead. Okay, for American Royals, it says, what if America had a royal family? When America won the Revolutionary War, its people offered General George Washington a crown. 2.5 centuries later, the House of Washington still sits on the throne. As Princess Beatrice gets closer to becoming America's first Queen Regnant, I don't know. The duty she has embraced her entire life suddenly feels stifling. Nobody cares about despair except when she's breaking the rules, so Princess Samantha doesn't care much about anything either, except the boy who is distinctly off limits to her. Oh, Einstein just hit my tripod. And then there's Samantha's twin, Prince Jefferson. If he'd been born a generation earlier, he would have stood first in the line for the throne, but the new laws of succession make him third. Most of America adores their devastatingly handsome prince, but 2 very different girls are vying to capture his heart. Okay, so that's what American Royals is about. Now on to the next book, which is Dress Coded by Carrie Firestone. And this says, Molly Frost is fed up because Olivia was yelled at for wearing a tank top, because Eliza got dress coded and Molly didn't, even though they were wearing the exact same outfit. Because when Jessica was pulled over by the principal and missed a math quiz, her teacher gave her an F. Because it's impossible to find shorts that are longer than her fingertips. Because girls' bodies are not a distraction. Because middle school is hard enough. And so Molly starts a podcast where girls can tell their stories, and before long her small rebellion swells into a revolution, because now the girls are standing up for what's right and they're not backing down. And I think this just sounds amazing. I have very much agreed with a lot of this many times over the years. And yeah, this is about the dress code that applies to girls that doesn't apply to boys. And it is middle grade as well. Next up, I have Game Changer by Neil Shusterman. And this says, as a tackle on his high school football team, Ash is used to taking some hard hits. But that one run in his last game must have knocked him a little loose, because suddenly his life doesn't look quite the way he remembers it, almost like he's in another dimension. Though these changes start small, soon Ash ends up in totally new universes that are almost but not really his own, living in perspectives he's never had to consider before. As Ash tries to figure out how to put his world back the way it was, he begins to question the world he thinks he knows and his own place in it. With masterful prose and powerful empathy, National Book Award-winning author Neil Shusterman weaves an affecting tale for our time about how difficult and how necessary it is to see through others' eyes. And I love everything he writes, so I'm really excited for this. Then I have How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. And this says, one daring to-do list and a crash course in flirtation turn a type A overachiever's world upside down. When her flailing department lands on the university's chopping block, Professor Nia Turner's friends convince her to shed her frumpy cardigan for an evening on the town. For one night, her focus will stray from her demanding job and she'll tackle a new kind of to-do list. When she meets a charming stranger in town on business, he presents the perfect opportunity to check off the items on her list. Let the guy buy her a drink. Check. Try something new. Check. A no strings attached hookup. Check. Almost. Jake makes her laugh and challenges Nia to rebuild her confidence, which was left toppled by her abusive ex-boyfriend. Soon she's flirting with the chance at a more serious romantic relationship. Except nothing can be that easy. The complicated strings attached to her dating Jake might destroy her career. Naya has two options. She can protect her professional reputation and return to her old life, or she can flirt with the unknown and stay with the person who makes her feel like she's finally living again. Okay, next up is, oh, this one's a little damaged. I don't think I meant to get a scratch and dent, but it is definitely, it's fine. It's fine. This is another book that I got for Xander. And again, I think it would be a handy book for him. Maybe for quite some time. Heck, it might be a handy book for me even, just because of some of the stuff I'm seeing. But it is The Manual to Manhood. And it says, how to cook the perfect steak, change a tire, impress a girl, and 97 other skills you need to survive, by Jonathan Catherman. And this says, how to gain respect, avoid embarrassment, and impress everyone. As a man in the making, you'll need to know how to do stuff. You also need a strong moral character to back up your new abilities. But who do you ask? If you want to have it all together, The Manual to Manhood is your go-to resource, with great illustrations and step-by-step instructions for almost everything a guy needs to know. This book shows you how to wear cologne correctly, tie a tie, grill a steak, manage a credit card, plan a date, interview for a job, ask for a reference, clean a bathroom, change a tire, talk to a girl, fold a shirt. Yes. Fold a shirt. Clear a sink drain, behave during a traffic stop, throw a football, find a stud in the wall, and tons more. The world needs confident and capable young men. With The Manual to Manhood, you'll be well on your way to becoming one of the best. Okay, next up I have The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. And this says, soon after her birthday, Libby Jones returns home from work to find the letter she has been waiting for 25 years. She rips it open with one driving thought: I'm finally going to know who I am. She learns not only the identity of her birth parents, but also that she is the sole inheritor of their abandoned mansion on the banks of the Thames. Everything in Libby's life is about to change, but what she can't possibly know is that others have been waiting for this day as well, and she is on a collision course to meet them. In The Family Upstairs, the master of bone-chilling suspense brings us the can't-look-away story of three entangled families living in a house with the darkest of secrets. Oh. Okay, next up I have Dear Evan Hansen by Val Emmich, Stephen Levinson, Benji Pasick, and Justin Paul. And let's see. This says, Dear Evan Hansen, today is going to be an amazing day, and here's why. When a letter that was never meant to be seen draws high school senior Evan Hansen into a family's grief over the loss of their son, Evan is given the chance of a lifetime to belong. He just has to pretend that the notoriously troubled Connor Murphy was his secret best friend. Suddenly, Evan isn't invisible anymore, even to the girl of his dreams, and Connor Murphy's parents have taken him in like he's their own, desperate to know more about their enigmatic son from his closest friend. As Evan gets pulled deeper into the family's swirl of anger, regret, and confusion, he knows that what he's doing can't be right. But if he's helping people, how wrong can it be? No longer incapacitated by anxiety or hiding from the disappointment in his mother's eyes, this new Evan has a purpose and confidence. Every day is amazing until everything is in danger of unraveling and he comes face to face with his greatest obstacle, himself. A simple lie leads to complicated truths in this big-hearted story of grief, authenticity, and the struggle to belong in an age of instant connectivity and profound isolation. And I have heard amazing things about the Broadway show and the book. And I haven't read this or seen the Broadway show, so I'm really interested. Next up is Sky Hunter by Marie Lu. Ooh! The spine. It says Spy Hunter. That's very cool. Everything that Marie Lu has written, I've thoroughly enjoyed. And oh my gosh, this book is stunning. Oh, like, oh, and it's like that soft matte. Oh, this is so nice. Yes, I've loved everything that Marie Lou has written, so I'm really excited to have this one as well. This says, in a world broken by war, a team of young warriors is willing to sacrifice everything to save what they love. The Karensa Federation has conquered a dozen countries, leaving Mara as one of the last free nations in the world. Refugees flee to its borders to escape a fate worse than death. Transformation into mutant war beasts known as ghosts, creatures the Federation then sends to attack Mara. The legendary strikers, Mara's elite fighting force, are trained to stop them. But as the number of ghosts grow and Karensa closes in, defeat seems inevitable. Still, one striker refuses to give up hope. Robbed of her voice and home, Talon Kanami knows firsthand the brutality of the Federation. Their cruelty forced her and her mother to seek asylum in a country that considers their people repugnant. She finds comfort only with a handful of fellow strikers who have pledged their lives to one another and who are determined to push Karensa back at all costs. When a mysterious prisoner is brought from the front, Talon senses there's more to him than meets the eye. Is he a spy from the Federation, or could he be the weapon that will save them all? And my battery is flashing, so I'm going to change that out and I will be right back. Okay, I am back. The next book I have here is You Have a Match by Emma Lord. And this one, it says, when Abby signs up for a DNA service, it's mainly to give her friend and secret love interest Leo a nudge. After all, she knows who she is already. Avid photographer, injury-prone tree climber, best friend of Leo and Connie. Although ever since the BEI, big embarrassing incident with Leo, things have been awkward on that front. But she didn't know she's a younger sister. When the DNA service reveals Abby has a secret sister, shimmery-haired Instagram star Savannah Tooley, it's hard to believe they're from the same planet, never mind the same parents, especially considering Savannah, queen of green smoothies, is only a year and a half older than Abby herself. The logical course of action, meet up at summer camp, obviously, and figure out why Abby's parents gave Savvy up for adoption. But there are complications. Savvy is a rigid rule follower and total narc. Leo is the camp's co-chef, putting Abby's growing feelings for him on blast. And her parents have a secret that threatens to unravel everything. But part of life is showing up, leaning in, and learning to fit all your awkward pieces together, because sometimes the hardest things can also be the best ones. Okay, then I have Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And this one says, poignant, charming novel about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappeared into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. Looking at real estate isn't really a life or death situation, but an apartment open house becomes just that when a failed bank robber bursts in and takes a group of strangers hostage. The captives include a recently retired couple who relentlessly hunt down fixer-uppers to avoid the painful truth that they can't fix up their own marriage. There's a wealthy banker who's been too busy making money to care about anyone else, and a young couple who are about to have their first child but can't seem to agree on anything, from where they want to live to how they met in the first place. Add to the mix an 87-year-old woman who has lived long enough to be afraid of someone waving a gun in her face, a flustered but still ready to make a deal real estate agent, and a mystery man who has locked himself in the apartment's only bathroom, and you've got the worst group of hostages in the world. Each of them carries a lifetime of grievances, hurts, secrets, and passions that are ready to boil over. None of them is entirely who they appear to be, and all of them, the bank robber included, desperately crave some sort of rescue. As the authorities and the media surround the premises, these reluctant allies will reveal surprising truths about themselves and set in motion a chain of events so unexpected that even they can hardly explain what happens next. Humorous, compassionate, and wise, Anxious People is an ingeniously constructed story about the enduring power of friendship, forgiveness, and hope, the things that save us even in the most anxious of times. And if things are noisy or bouncy, it's because Einstein's running laps around with a ball in his mouth. Okay, next up I have Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. And this says, Safri Maddox spent 3 years under the care of renowned child psychologist Roan Fors. When Dr. Fors decided their session should end, she feels abandoned and begins following him around his neighborhood, learning more than she ever wanted to know about Roan and his deceptively perfect family life. On a chilly Valentine's night, Safri will disappear, taking any secrets she has learned with her, and Owen Pick might have been the last person to see her. The Fords have always had a bad feeling about their neighbor Owen. He's a bit creepy, and their teenage daughter swears he followed her home from the train station one night. Could Owen be responsible? What happened to the beautiful missing Safri? And does her disappearance truly connect them all? Evocative, wild, and heart-stopping, Lisa Jewell's latest thriller is another haunting, atmospheric, stay up way too late read. And now I really gotta fix this camera angle. Okay, next up is a graphic novel. This is Meg, Joe, Beth and Amy, which is a graphic novel, modern retelling of Little Women. This says, Meg, Joe, Beth, and Amy are having a really tough year. Not only is their father overseas with the military and their mother working overtime to make ends meet, but each girl is struggling with their own unique problems. Whether it's school woes, health issues, boy troubles, or simply feeling lost, the March sisters all need the same thing: support from each other. By coming together and sharing lots of laughs and tears, these 4 young women find the courage to discover who they truly are as individuals and as a family. And yeah, these are our March sisters. Love it. The art looks super cute too. Okay, next is a book that I actually got for Marty, and it's thicker than I thought. But I thought it was one that he would be interested in. This is Midnight in Chernobyl by Adam Higginbotham. And it's about what happened at Chernobyl. And as Marty, he works in a nuclear plant. And I know that he finds the what happened at Chernobyl very interesting, and he's watched like the documentaries and all that stuff. So I thought he'd be interested in this. But yeah, that's what this is about. Okay, the last 3 books in this box are all part of the same series. So I have book 1 already, but I got book 2. So book 1 is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. I got book 2, The Proposal. Book 3, The Wedding Party. And book 5, because I don't think they had at the time book 4. Book 5, Party of 2. So let me read. I'll set these down here. Set this box down here. And I can read about The Wedding Date on Goodreads. It says, a groomsman and his last-minute guest are about to discover if a fake date can go the distance in a fun and flirty debut novel. Agreeing to go to a wedding with a guy she gets stuck in an elevator is something Alexa Monroe wouldn't normally do, but there's something about Drew Nichols that's too hard to resist. On the eve of his ex's wedding festivities, Drew is minus a +1, until a power outage strands him with the perfect candidate for a fake girlfriend. After Alexa and Drew have more fun than they ever thought possible, Drew has to fly back to Los Angeles and his job as a pediatric surgeon, and Alexa heads home to Berkeley, where she's the mayor's chief of staff. Too bad they can't stop thinking about each other. They're just 2 high-powered professionals on a collision course toward the long-distance dating disaster of the century, or closing the gap between what they think they need and what they truly want. And it sounds so cute to me. So I got that. These are all 35, or should I say 36 books that I got in this book outlet haul. Have you read any of the books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!